Hello, it's Mr. Davis here. Hope you are all well. Sadly, due to the current restrictions, I cannot present this to you and speak to you about online safety face to face, which was hopefully the aim to have you come in and talk. So the alternative that seems to be everywhere is either through a recording of a PowerPoint, or obviously in the Zoom and so on. And the technology has been great over the break. I guess it's made everything function and been able to work that way. But obviously we are aware that over that time in the break that children would have been using their devices more, and there would have been a lot more people at home who would have been using their devices as well, and how those people use those devices sometimes might not be appropriate, or sometimes the things that your children might come across might not necessarily be appropriate. And it's quite tricky in this current climate because technology is fast and it is growing and it is developing always, and new apps come out and new games are coming out and the new console and so on, and it's hard to manage what is the right thing to do sometimes. So I thought it'd be good just to go through with you some tips. It's from a company you might see in the top corner called Think You Know. They are a website and a company who work closely with various online safety and awareness, along with the police as well in this case, which I'll discuss later with the links for that. But they give you a real chance to just understand, and maybe some tips that will help you, which I will go through with you. So we really want to think about the importance of why it is important and your role in actually ensuring that you are safeguarding your children while they are using all the amazing tech that's out there online. The first thing that seems to happen, and the conversations I tend to have, is actually because there's so much games, so much apps, so many different sites coming out and popping up, it's quite difficult to always be on top of it. I know myself, I'm an avid gamer. I play various Xbox, Nintendo Switch, but I even struggle nowadays to keep up with the games, the new games coming out playing wise. And it's something that I've really been managed to be able to keep on top of, in terms of the apps coming out and the site. It's for my job as a teacher. I'm sure that if I wasn't necessarily teaching, I wouldn't necessarily be aware of some of the new apps that come out, some of the apps that the children are using, some of the sites, and it's something that as a parent I know maybe be a bit of a struggle, because it's very easy now to have your phone and just click app, download, or to get online they pick their remote up and then they sit and go and play. And because the online internet is accessible with pretty much any device now, it makes it it's very good and very positive, but it is accessible to everyone. As soon as you give that child that device, or even yourself a device, you have almost a whole world at your fingertips. And I know it's tricky to understand, so there's some 4 points that they come out with that actually to understand and to try and realise actually that sometimes when these new apps and the sites and games come out, there are ways that you can just ensure, and quite simple ways that you can ensure that you are monitoring to making sure that your child is using the app appropriately. The first one is viewing. You'll find with a lot of apps that apps come out, and as wonderful as some seem, and they are great, they are also quite limited. I think it gets sold sometimes that they can do X, Y, Z, but actually some of the apps they come out, they are quite limited in what they can do. And for that, it's just being aware of what each app does. For example, I know with social media apps, as you can see, anyone can post and share content. So there's no real restriction on that. It's being aware of how do you know and limit your child from doing that. Sadly, and I know this comes with some sites with YouTube as well, sometimes it comes up with inappropriate sexual or violent content online. That's something that your child can be exposed to, and sometimes it can be just incidental. It might be that I've seen clips before watching YouTube, and as some people go, the YouTube autoplays, actually sometimes it can go onto something that's not necessarily appropriate for your child to watch. But most apps and games, they do come with privacy and security settings. I know that any app that you look at, they will have their own restrictions. One of those restrictions obviously is being the age, and that's something that you as a parent need to try and look and understand why those age ratings are put there. Even if sometimes an app can seem harmless, it needs to be monitored, and there's a reason why the age restrictions are there. But most of them come with privacy and security settings, and the thing that I tend to do myself, and this is one thing that I've found, especially when the kids, is I download the app myself, and I have a go on the app myself, and I look through, and I might even make an account, and I just check what settings I can actually do for that. If you take Facebook for example, it's very interesting one. Over the time as I was growing up, I didn't necessarily have many settings till I got a bit older, to a point where actually I decided that I want it to be private. I need it to be private because I want it to be for me and for the people that I want to share. Sadly, privacy settings don't always mean that someone cannot get in. It is always for you to be vigilant and to be aware that this is something that and it really prevents quite a lot, but there are ways, and it's always for you to be aware of what your child is viewing. Parental controls and filters can also help manage online activities. I know with most games, game consoles, you can put parental controls in. If you go to PlayStation 4 and just type PS4 parental controls, there will be loads of videos online to show you how to do it. I also think this is something that is best, and my message will be repeated throughout this, is talk to your children who are using these apps. If you talk to them and you are aware of what they are doing, then they will feel that it's a norm to understand and being able to tell you. If they viewed something inappropriate, they will feel safe enough to come and speak to you and tell you about it. Having that constant dialogue with your child, short, it doesn't need to be long, because I understand as a child, when they're on their games and you try and have a game, and for them they're playing and can you just leave me alone? I understand that happens. But having those short but often conversations will ensure that you are just being vigilant and ensuring that you know what your child's actually are. So in terms of viewing, I would say that understanding the outset is as a look at them yourself. Go on them yourself. There's no harm in you going on. I know there's a TikTok over lockdown would have been on the rise. Have a look. I've had a look at it online and seen what it does, and that's about as far as I go. I don't use it myself. So there's no harm in looking and seeing what filters you can put on, what parental controls you can have. The next one is sharing. Obviously, sharing is nowadays so easy to share. You can just click a button and off it goes and it shares. Again, get that idea that children should not feel pressurized to share, and that they again seek your permission, especially younger children. If they are going to share, that actually they've asked you whether they can share with you, because for you, it's understanding that once that gets put out there, it's hard to retract. And children need to understand that in terms of the sharing aspect, that anything that you put on, and I'm sure you're aware that when you put a tweet out, for example, on Twitter, that anybody can screenshot that, and that could be circulated around, even if you delete it. So it's that real importance of feeling that a child should understand the importance of sharing. And we discussed it in school. All of this is part of our Google curriculum, but being aware that what they are sharing, it's safe, and actually at our age, in terms of our primary school age, do they really need to be sharing online? And that would be the question that I ask. Again, look out for others by not sharing inappropriate content. This comes back to that point where I think sometimes with gaming, where some people are exposed to different games and they go, oh, it's fine, my child, he's mature, he can play that game even though it's a 15 rating. Well, actually, you're not realising that maybe there are a lot of parents out there who are monitoring what their child is doing, and you're allowing that conversation to filter into the classroom. So it's that kind of level of sharing, of actually look out for others by not allowing your child to share inappropriate content, even inappropriate conversations about games that actually some people might be guarded from at home for the right reasons, because there is an age limit. So please be aware that you're not just affecting your child if you are allowing them to share and to offer that inappropriate content. Next one is chatting. Obviously nowadays you can chat across many devices. You can chat, and again it comes with common sense in terms of that, thinking about, are you monitoring who they are chatting to? As they get older, and I know particularly by year 6 and they're moving on to that secondary school, it's very easy to get a lot of people involved, because as children start meeting friends, it might be a friend of a friend, but are you aware that actually they are there to have fun and talk, and they are aware that they know who they are talking to? Most people do want to just talk, As you see, bullet point 2, most people, thankfully, in this world are good people, and they want to talk, and they want to talk about nice things. Sadly, sometimes it comes back to that sharing. They do share inappropriate things. They want to talk and discuss inappropriate things, and this is where it comes back to that conversation that you have with your child. That conversation you have with your child often, but not, doesn't mean for long, but actually about, oh, who are you talking to? Oh, I'm just talking. Oh, okay. And that you actually can check that they are talking to that person. Because the more that you are involved with it, it becomes a norm then. It becomes a natural. It becomes that your child doesn't feel that you're trying to invade their privacy, that they feel that it's something that should happen, and that is the correct practice. And it absolutely is the best practice to go forward with. Again, always get them to try and talk to them if they do know something, that they have had something been said to them. Actually have them and discuss with them. Don't go and again delete the messages off. Think about actually that you could use that but for yourself, but actually make sure that you are monitoring before they delete it. Don't get your child to delete it and the other time. Try and get them into good habits. And the children, we do discuss it with them. The whole personal information is a big part of our curriculum here, where we teach through our computing lessons. So actually don't share information. If you know, think about what you are trying to share and not too much personal information. And that comes saying, I know when it comes to the school New Year and they got their nice new uniform, and the amount of parents I see that put their pictures of their children with their school logos on, I just think to myself, you are opening yourself up to allow these children to be found if it falls into the wrong hands. And I know again that's thinking worst case scenario, but it has happened. So again, yourself being vigilant about what you are sharing on these sites. So again, just like I was saying, thinking about that friending, chatting, sharing, viewing, they can stuff that you can monitor. You can look at what your child's doing. You can think about what they are sharing and talk to them and guide them on what they feel is appropriate sharing, but also sharing in terms of conversation. That's the big thing at Crawley Ridge we're finding at the moment. There are some children who are not playing necessarily the most appropriate games, and they feel that conversation can come into the classroom. So please be vigilant with actually, are you thinking just about your child, oh it's fine, they're mature? Actually think about the other children around. They are coming to a setting where they are in bubbles at the moment of up to 60 children. And that chatting online, great to be able to communicate, especially in lockdown. I'm sure it's great they can communicate. Just be aware who they are communicating with. And that friending, think about who they are friending with. I know sometimes friends are friends, and that happens, and as you grow up, but again, think about who they are being friends with. Think about who they are talking to online, and for you to monitor it. Especially with digital games online, it's very hard that you won't have the text to see who they are chatting to. It's all over headset, all over mic. Again, being vigilant with that and being, who are you with? Who are you chatting to today? Little questions, but if you build up that trust, it doesn't feel that you're invading that privacy. It feels that it's just a norm, and the more you have those conversations, the more they become part of a natural feel to the child. If it is, again, turns into almost an interrogation, who are they? They're more likely to be warm withdrawn with you. So think about how you are approaching those situations and be open. I think being honest with each other is the best way forward for you understanding the apps, sites and the games that are coming out, and understanding the best way that you can monitor. So just again comes back to the last bit, what kinds of content do you see? So again, what do you see on the app? What could they then see? If you set the same settings up, what do you see? What can you see? Check their profile. Check your own profile. Sharing. Think about what they can share. Actually, at this stage, I know it's not necessarily called it, but what do they share? What are they going to share on? That conversation about as they grow up, if they can understand that actually what's appropriate now, it will filter as they move forward. Chatting. Discuss who can you talk to, how and where, what apps can you use, can you monitor, was the best way that you can control who you understand. Again, arguably on gaming, I know it can be a lot trickier, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And friending, who can you be friends with online? Think about actually to have that discussion. Who do you think it would be appropriate? I always like the discussions about actually who would you talk to if you were in your class or we were walking around in public. If you saw your friend or a stranger, who would you go up and walk and talk to? Because again, that would give them that chance of thinking about the online and the real world. I think it's that illusion that we lose sometimes because it is just on a headset that it's very easy to go, oh, they're fine. So again, think about actually who would you actually be friends with in the real world? Who can you be friends with? So the next bit I want to bring to is obviously gaming online. Gaming is a massive thing. It's grown over the years and it's got huge. So for me, gaming online is a really good thing. I think it's great that you can share. Personally, use it myself. But how can we make sure, as parents and carers and as teachers and practitioners, that we ensure that we are giving the children the best tools to behave appropriately online? So the risk we spoke about is actually chatting with people that they don't know. I know it's very easy on some games that people can just enter chat rooms and stuff. There's a lot of ways that they can set up. Having your friends list of people that they know, but also thinking about actually private chat settings. And again, you can explore that if you go on to Xbox Live chat settings, for example, or PS4 chat settings. It will give you the settings that you can set up to ensure that if your child is talking over headset with people, that it is limited to them, because sometimes you can go into a game and that game will have loads of different people in, and sometimes if it's on open mic there can be people and you have no control over what they can say, who they are, what age they are. So again, just thinking about actually how you can monitor that, and one way is great way is private chats, and you look at that. And that comes to that unmoderated chat. It's not necessarily moderated. I've been in games before when I've gone into the group and it's an open floor, and I don't have a headset myself, but you might have a muted mic, but the language comes through the telly then. And actually you can turn off the chat of other people's, and this is where you can explore and research. Think about when you go Google, just type in that sometimes how do I control online chat. A guest requests a chat in private. It comes back to that your child needs to understand that they might get a request sometimes because some people want to talk. Again, limit to those private chats of their own friends that they know and keep within that group. And the last one, offering gifts or trade. Sometimes people will want gifts. I know nowadays with micromanagement and so on, it builds up, and the microtransactions and so on, and people want to pass on. Again, just being sure that they know what they're doing and that they are aware, because it's very easy that sometimes I've heard stories before where parents have come up to me and said, oh well, my son wanted their gifts and wanted some gifts, and they've ended up putting their card and they've just spent and now I've got a bill. Are you sure and monitoring that you know that they are using that? So again, this checking of what can you do? Play with them to understand how they talk online, who they talk with, and what they're doing with. Sit and play with them and just take an interest into what they are doing. Take a real interest into how they are actually playing. What games are they playing? Isn't the game appropriate? Sometimes we do see games that come out, I'll be fine. Actually, don't worry. Look at the age restriction. They have obviously the PEGI age restriction, and they're there for a reason. Please follow them, because it might seem harmless at the time, but you don't know what's going on inside that child's head, what that impression that game's having, and you don't know what sort of conversations they're having with other children about games that are, quite frankly, some of them are quite inappropriate. So again, feel police free and play with them. Monitor what they're doing, enjoy, watch them, but treat it again, once you build up that relationship, that you're not interrogating, that you're taking an interest. I'm sure they would quite like that. Talk to them about the games they play. So again, play, talk, have a discussion. That's the best way that I learn about the children in my class, is that I'm not going to shy away. I'm not going to be naive that they think that they're not playing. Talk to them, have a little chat with them and say, actually, I know, what games are you playing at the moment? What's popular? I know Roblox is popular with some of them. I know that game Fortnite comes up, and I know that's been something that's been frequent. As teachers, we cannot shy away from those conversations, and as parents, we need to have that conversation with them about what they're playing. Why do they enjoy playing that game? There might be, then they tell you why, and there might be an alternative game that you feel might be a bit more appropriate. Again, always good to check, looking at reviews of games. You can type them in. There's plenty of websites. I will make a list to go along with this PowerPoint of some really helpful websites that you can use. But in terms of gaming, have a look. Watch online. Nowadays, people stream loads. So you could even watch streamers. Go on YouTube. Fortnite, I know, is massive for streaming at the moment. So again, I'm talking in terms of primary school. No one in our school should be playing Fortnite because of the age restrictions. They're not old enough to play the game. But as a parent, if that's a decision that you feel is inappropriate, then again you need to consider why. But looking at, are you aware of the actual game? Is it just because they've nagged you and they've asked you, well, everybody else has got it, that cliche? Actually, have you looked at it, sat down and looked and seen whether it's appropriate or not? Whether you feel it's appropriate as a parent? Use family controls. Again, there's loads of family controls out there. Look at them. Have a little look at what they are. To manage, limit, and turn off in-game chat, you can do all I've told you. Just have a little Google. I will add some links that will help you with this. And the thing you know is great.co.uk and will be at the end. But again, always just Google. That's what sometimes I do the best. Encourage reporting. It says encourage reporting. I encourage it. Inappropriate chat in a game or anything that makes them feel weird, let them talk to you. Think about it. They do have great ways of encouraging. They pass it on quite a bit in terms of, I know with Xbox, when you report it, they have a good reporting system. So have a little look. Again, at the bottom you'll see a link. Hopefully you can type it in if you want to, about in-game chat and how you know. And the last point that I really want to talk to you about briefly is just social media. Social media is one of the great things that I think have come out of the internet, in terms of being able to share, being able to communicate, and it has certainly developed over the years. And for me personally, I've got family who live in Gloucester. It's a great way of communicating with them and seeing, pictures of my niece and nephew, and having, chats with my friends and group chats with football, cricket teams, on WhatsApp. They are great. However, they do come with quite a lot of negative aspects, especially when children are trying to use social media. A lot of these apps have age ratings, and again, the popular ones at the moment, TikTok, Instagram, they all come up with 13 and above. You've got, obviously, WhatsApp has 16 and above, and even though sometimes these apps can seem harmless, I'm sure when you look at WhatsApp, it's a messaging system. It's a messaging device. What TikTok, you film videos of you doing dance moves and reenacting movies, and Instagram, you should put pictures up with your hashtag. I understand that seems quite harmless, but actually it can be open up to various different vulnerabilities for your child. As you see on the thing, some of the risk, well, obviously inappropriate content comes up quite a bit. It's very easy just to post something and just be done, and it's on there, and you can be exposed to it quite quickly. And the way that social media works is all of a sudden you put it on one of them, Instagram, it could be on Snapchat, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, before you even know it, because it's very easy to share across platforms. Inappropriate behaviour is the one that we see, not necessarily obviously, but a way that you can talk and the way that people discuss. And we find that the biggest one. I find that the biggest one I deal issues with is something on TikTok or with WhatsApp, is the falling out, because the children, in particular in our school, because of the age that they are, they don't necessarily see the consequence of what they've said, or the impact that can have. You send a message on the phone and that message goes through, and then that child is left to read that message without actually that support around. If that comment gets made at school, which sadly sometimes does, we are there as an immediate person to come and deal with it. When you're online, it's not so much that, and I don't think children understand that. They don't understand that actually the effect that they can have by, for example, having a group on WhatsApp and someone puts something up into that group because they've inappropriately shared a photo or something that they don't, and that oversharing, and people can make comments very easily because there's no consequence for them. They don't have that immediate consequence that they've said a bad comment, and that child on the other end might be really upset about it. So again, just think about actually the other aspects of, even though they might seem quite harmless, think about what effect that they could have and how much that opens up another pathway for potential. I won't talk about potential cyberbullying as a word that goes around, or a phrase that gets used, but just potential that your children are opened up to other avenues. And I think we here at our school, we want to support, but we also want to ensure that you are aware of that guidelines, aware of that age, and again, that come back to that question. That, for example, WhatsApp has 16. Why if your child has WhatsApp or even TikTok, why do they have it when there is an age restriction? What makes you feel comfortable that they are going against the recommendations and arguably the law in terms of the age rating? Because for us, we feel that sometimes we deal with these issues, and we feel that they are issues that shouldn't be there because of the age ratings. And just that question in terms of, are they okay using it? And again, I think it comes back to that open conversation and that frank conversation with that actually you have that two-way conversation with your child, which is open, little and often, but that they are aware that you know that you have reasons why they shouldn't have those apps. And again, I think the biggest thing for us with social media, another big thing, it's massive, I could go, is that if it starts filtering and affecting the way that they are in school and affecting their personal behaviour. I had discussions, we had a discussion, and there was a meeting where it was the Brick Academy. And if you ever look at the Brick Academy, they're great. They do a lot of support around social media, around quite a sad story. And I'll put the link for their website on through with this video. And one of the ones is that one of the ladies who gave the talk at it was talking about how she saw a change in her child's behaviour, and it was down to what she was being exposed to on social media. And she took the pain, she said, of taking it away, but she had to find a way to get her daughter back. And I think that's something for you to just be aware of, that actually if social media in particular, if you are allowing your child to use it, how is their change? How is their behaviour? How are they doing at school? How are they actually getting on with their friends? Are you aware of this? And it all comes back to that good network, that strong network you have as a family, where you do take that time, because it is a duty of care to monitor what they are doing online. And are you taking that time to really have those positive conversations about how we act and how we treat people online in particular? So what can you do? Well, make sure they are ready, and that is for everything. Even WhatsApp, if you think it's just a simple messaging device, think they're ready. Be a good model, great model for them. Show them positive things on social media that you are doing. Show them what you are posting online, the comments you are doing. And again, that comes out. I told you it would come up all the way. Get involved. Support them. Talk to them. Have that friendly discussion. Discuss why. Have that open dialogue. Don't be actually just leave them to it and just get on with it because that's what they want. Talk about it. Talk about using the safe side. And again, at the bottom, there's an article, which again, I'll put the links on a slide, on a Word document for you. Is it saying, is my child ready for social media? If they are, then great. But in this case, Crawley Ridge, they shouldn't be because of the age restrictions that are there. And we hope as a school that you do follow them. So what can you do? The one thing is, again, just to recap, chat little and often. Take every opportunity to talk to them, but again, little and often. So little and often is better, I feel. It means that you're not necessarily turning, nagging, and could have the adverse effect that the child switches off and actually then will do it, but actually they will feel comfortable when it comes to the norm then. It becomes good and normal practice. Report anything that worries you or worries them. Talk. We're obviously school, you can come speak to us of anything, but again, talk. And take some practical steps. This is a great one. I love this one. Use the parental controls. Every app has parental controls pretty much. Just have to Google and along with the app. And Think You Know is great. They have loads of guides on there. Create a family agreement and regularly review it. As they get older and they grow up, think about, all right, we've agreed to this. Have a discussion, a shared discussion with your child. They are a big part of this. It's not just about saying no and yes. They need to have some say in what they're doing. And direct your children to age-appropriate information. That's down. I think the responsibility does lie with you as parents and carers for that. Direct them. Ensure that what they are playing is age-appropriate. Because again, if it's not, there are implications from that. Not just for your child. It can start filtering in. Just some on here that you can see. Parent.info is a great one. They talk about games, parenting, safe. They've got all there, as you can see at the bottom. Feel free to have a little look on there. And just staying up to date. Stay up to date with what you're doing. As you can see, I've got a couple of links on here. I'll add them to a slide if you can't click onto them. Contact them. Contact in terms of look at their website. There's a hashtag parents one as well. You can sign up. They are constantly updated. They are fantastic. CEOP UK, follow them on Twitter and Facebook. Click CEOP if you've got them there. CEOP is the police of the National Crime Agency Command, which they report. As you say in the link, you can directly, if you have any queries or feedback on, again, obviously it's the training side from it, but think about actually the CEOP. You can look at them. They are a site that will help, and they work along the police and work on that side. I hope that's a bit of a whistle stop. Trying to keep it under like 30 minutes, so I'm not keeping you for too long. But again, it might be that you feel that you can watch this and just have that and these key tips to just refresh your mind, or actually maybe something I've said that you've not been aware of. Actually, oh yeah, that might actually mean, in terms especially the apps and the game usage, the ages are there for a reason. Just consider why you feel it's okay for your child to use it and why you think it's appropriate. I'm here most days, Monday to Friday normally. Feel free to contact anything, any help. I'm always here to help with parental controls, parental help, parental support. So feel free to contact the school on those. We are here to help. I'm here to support. Obviously in these current times I know it's quite difficult because I can't necessarily do face to face, but over email I can point you in the right direction if there's anything you want help. I hope this helped, and I look forward hopefully next time that maybe we can do one together in the hall and have a bit of a dialogue and conversation about it. Any questions, feel free to email the office at or school at, one of them, I forget which one it is, the one that you normally contact, and it will come through and they'll pass it through to me, any concerns or any queries. Okay, have a nice time and I'll speak to you soon, hopefully.